have found the Genesis frequency. This is Dr. Stephen J. Kosmyna welcoming you in to another episode of a show that focuses on your whole life prosperity and success. Whole life prosperity and success by cooperating with the universal laws that are available to each and every one of us. This is Quantum Leap Goal Achievement, radical personal transformation, whole life prosperity and success. Now, stay tuned for another exciting episode that'll move the needle in your life from where you are now to where you want to be.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time of day it may be, wherever you are in the world. When you hit that play button, so glad you did. This is Dr. Cause and Effect, Dr. Stephen J. Kosmyna, coming at you with another episode of the Genesis Frequency, the podcast all about personal and professional development, leadership, performance, productivity, goal achievement, priority management. And you know what? About creating the life you would truly love to live. That really sums it up here. Quantum leap goal achievement and moving the needle in your life is, it's why every time I go to change the introduction, it's like, it's all in there. And I love helping individuals all over the world work to do what they need to do to move into the life they would love to live, to make that transformation. That's what it's all about here. And there's tremendous value in the content that I deliver. I've lived it, I've modeled it, demonstrated it, put it to practice in my life, tried and true methods. And boy, I've come a long way and helped a lot of people and a lot of companies and a lot of corporations, a lot of small businesses come a long way too. So reach out and talk to me, successappointment.com. Not a sales page. It's my calendar, shows up in your time zone. Let's talk. All right, let's dive in today. That's it. See, tremendous value here. Don't be like a lot of people out there. They price little or no value on that which they get for free. No commercials except for me. And then we dive right into the material. So I want to go back to something really fundamental today. Fundamental, something I've talked about many times over the years, but I'm coming back to it because I'm inspired to share this because I believe somebody listening today needs to hear it again. I get that inspiration, that drop, and hey, go in this direction. Somebody out there needs to hear it. Maybe it's you. I don't know. But I follow that inspiration, that intuition, that guidance, whatever you want to call it. And you know what? We're all at a different place in consciousness along this journey. I am, you are. So I'll say something maybe in a different way than I said it before. You're going to hear it in a different way, or maybe hear it for the first time, or maybe hear it for the 10th time, and you're going to grasp it in a different way. So here we go, because I keep coming back to this. And you know what? Maybe you're one like me, and like a lot of people out there. Maybe you've read a whole bunch of books. Maybe you've attended all the seminars. Maybe you've listened to hundreds of podcasts, including this one. Did I say podcasts? That's a good one, isn't it? Podcast, prodding you along your way. Now, I don't need to prod you because you want what you want. You just maybe need a little help and a little guidance getting there, right? So you listen to the podcast, you've earned the degrees maybe. You've got certifications rolling off the end of your business card. Maybe you can even teach this material, maybe you do to somebody else, and yet there's an area of your life, an area where you're still not doing what you already know how to do. You already know how to do it, but maybe you're not doing that. Have you ever wondered why? Why do we know better, but don't always do better? Why does the person who understands nutrition still eat things they know don't support their goals? Why does someone who understands sales avoid making sales call? We see sales reluctance all the time. Why does the business owner who knows they need to prospect spend the morning rearranging the office? Why does someone who knows they should exercise keep saying, I'll start Monday? Why do intelligent, educated, motivated people continue doing things they know aren't producing the results they want? And that's what we're talking about today, the knowing doing gap. And if you've been stuck, I mean, really stuck, perhaps today's message will help you understand that the answer may not be acquiring more information. You may already know enough. You probably do. The challenge may be getting yourself to do what you already know or do what you already know you should do. We have to realize that information alone is not transformation. We really live in the greatest information age in human history, if you think about it. If you want to know how to start a business, you can find out. If you want to know how to improve your health, information is everywhere. Well, and I mean, you just put health in Google or in a search bar, they'll chase you, and you'll find out how to be healthy, right? You want to learn sales, you want to learn leadership, you want to learn time management, priority management, communication, goal setting, right? You can come here, successappointment.com. What about investing, meditation, exercise? You can pull out your phone and within seconds have more information than you could possibly consume. And yet, and we can all do this, yet people are still stuck. Isn't that interesting? Because if information alone created success, wouldn't everybody with internet access be extraordinarily successful? So this tells me clearly something else is going on. And Bob Proctor, the late great Bob Proctor, I was one of his students, still am. He taught this for decades. We have a knowing doing gap. There is what we consciously know, and then there's what we habitually do. And those two things are very often very, very different. And let's take a deeper dive into this. The person who knows isn't always the person who does. You probably know somebody who can tell everybody else exactly what they should do, right? Maybe it's you. I don't know. We can be I think we can, to a certain extent, we can all be incredibly wise about somebody else's life. Right? We could be wise about, we can see exactly what's holding them back. You do this, Jim, we know what they should change, right? We know the conversation they need to have. We know the decision they need to make. Then we look at our own life, and somehow everything becomes complicated. Why is that? Because knowing operates largely at the conscious level. Okay, get this. Knowing operates largely at the conscious level, but much of our everyday behavior runs automatically through established patterns and paradigms. Now, Bob Proctor used the word paradigm, and that's true. Paradigm is essentially a multitude of habits that have almost exclusive control over our habitual behavior. And if you think about it, almost all of our behavior is habitual, right? That's why I often use the word unconscious competent. So it's that everyday behavior that's running beneath the surface, that running automatically. And this is a multitude of habits. That's how Bob defined it. And that's so true. It's a multitude of patterns of thought, patterns of feeling, not one habit. It'd be easy if it was one habit. Patterns of behavior, patterns of response, patterns around money, patterns around relationships, patterns around work, patterns around confidence, patterns around health, patterns around all kind of behavior, patterns around how we use our time. And in paradigms, and then we can shift that group think into the business and the corporation, and we call it culture. And that can be on the positive pole or the negative pole, right? But it's all these patterns, these habits. And many of these patterns have been, oh man, they've been repeated for so long that we don't consciously decide anymore to perform them, right? I mean, we truly do run on autopilot. We simply just do them. We move about and we're doing them. Think about your morning. Just think about this right now. Think about what you did this morning. How much of it required conscious decision making? Did you consciously analyze which side of the bed to get out of? Did you carefully study how to brush your teeth? Did you have to relearn how to make or grab your coffee or place your order for your coffee? Did you consciously decide which shoe to put on first? Probably not. You developed patterns. You developed habits. That's useful. It's useful to know this. Imagine having to relearn everything. A lot of these are serve us very well. Don't get me wrong. Because imagine if you have to relearn everything every morning, right? Let's see. I'm scratching my head, figuring out which of these shoes goes on which foot. How do I tie this thing? It's great. I mean, if you just think about it, all the things that we do that are habitual. I mean, habit makes life efficient, right? The problem isn't that we have habits. The problem occurs when our habitual programming is taking us in a direction different from the direction of our conscious goals, right? We think about it, we sit down, you say, okay, here's my goal. This is where I'm going. This is where I want to be in 6 months. This is who I am becoming. This is the transformation I want to make in my life, right? Habitual programming is taking us in a direction different from the direction of those goals. That's the gap. Consciously, we're saying, hey, I want this, like I just illustrated. Habitually, I keep doing that, though. And then we become frustrated with ourselves. We do. I mean, we all do. We all do this. You set the goal, the paradigm pulls back. It's pulling you back. Let's say you decide, I'm going to double my income this year. That's the conscious mind speaking. You got a number, it's specific, it's attainable, wonderful. Then what happens? Your paradigm says, who do you think you are? You decide you're going to start the business. The paradigm says, better wait till everything is perfect. You decide you're finally going to make those prospecting calls, right? The paradigm says, well, maybe we should research a little bit more first. You decide you're going to, okay, I'm going to double this. I'm going to apply for that position. Paradigm says, well, you're probably not qualified. Why bother? You decide to step onto a bigger stage. Paradigm says, what if you embarrass yourself? You have before. And here's where fear often enters the picture. The moment we begin moving beyond the familiar, the old programming interprets unfamiliar territory as danger, right? Let me say that again. The moment we begin moving beyond the familiar, we're stepping out of our comfort zone, right? That old programming, well, it takes it that, hey, wait, you're moving into unfamiliar territory. And that's dangerous. That's dangerous. So we retreat, right? It's a very strong pull. And then what do we do? We call the retreat, we call it logic. The timing isn't right. I need another certification. The economy is uncertain. I'll wait till after the holidays. I'll wait till the first of the year. I need to think about it. Sometimes those are legitimate considerations, and sometimes, most of the times, I'm telling you, they're fear wearing a business suit. That's why I love I often post the cave you fear to enter holds all that you seek, right? Fear, man. We we look at this and we say, "Oh, that makes sense," but that's really fear wearing a business suit, right? And let's look at this comfort zone for a minute, because the comfort zone isn't always comfortable, is it? I mean, this is really worth thinking about because I talk to a lot of people, and you're probably one of them that perhaps I've talked to, but you're very comfortable where you're at. You realize that, hey, I really want this goal, but it's greedy, or no, it's not. To serve yourself and serve mankind in a greater way, that's ridiculous. People stop themselves for some ridiculous reasons, but you're probably comfortable. If you haven't moved, if you haven't taken a step in the direction of the life you would love to live, you're probably just very comfortable in your comfort zone. So think about this. It isn't necessarily comfortable in your comfort zone, it's simply familiar. People remain all the time in circumstances they don't like because they're familiar. They remain in a job they dislike. It's familiar. They put up with an income they complain about. It's familiar. A relationship pattern that keeps repeating, right? A business that never grows beyond a certain level. A health routine that isn't working. Why? Because familiar has enormous psychological gravity, I like to call it. Psychological gravity. We know how to be this person. We know how to be and earn this amount of money. We know how to operate at this level, right? We know how to produce these results that are showing up over and over and over again. The dream, the dream requires us to become someone we've never been before, right? We're becoming. It's right in the word, becoming. The dream requires us to do something different, to be something different. And that's where the paradigm, that voice of the paradigms, get louder and louder and louder and begins pushing back. It's like, oh, what are you doing? Get back over here. Get over here. So, to really look at this in your own life, you have to realize that your results, what's showing up, your results are giving you information. This is where I want you to become curious instead of judgmental, because this is not about beating yourself up, okay? Let's be clear about that. I want you to be curious. Look at your results. Thoughts, words, and actions equals results. Look at your results, not to condemn yourself, to study yourself, okay? Your current results are providing information about your current patterns. If you've wanted the same goal for 5 years and have not moved toward it, well, that's information. If you continually start and stop, start and stop, start and stop, that's information. If your income repeatedly reaches approximately the same level and then stalls, we see this all the time. Salespeople, I didn't do this, and I know how to do this. It stalls. That's information. If you continually procrastinate on the same activity, that's information. Instead of saying, beating your hand against your forehead, what's wrong with me? Ask, ask yourself, what pattern is operating here? Go deeper. What belief am I rooted and grounded in? But start with what pattern is operating here? That's a much more useful question because now we have something we can work with. Okay, I do I get to a certain point? What's going on here? And then I stall. There's some kind of pattern. Let me dig down in these layers and uncover that. So what we want to do beyond that, and I realize we're going on. I could go on and on about just this for many, many episodes. We want to stop collecting information and start applying it. That's probably the simplest way I can put it. Stop collecting information, start applying it. And this may challenge some of you listening today, and I realize that. But you know what? You may not need another book. You may not need another podcast. You may not need another degree. You may not need another certification. You may not need another YouTube video. You may not need another notebook full of beautiful ideas. You know what? You may not need to take, you may, I mean, I could go on and on. You may need to take the one thing you already know. This is what you need. You may need to take the one thing you already know and actually do it consistently. Think about your biggest goal right now, your biggest goal, your biggest dream. What's one thing you already know you should be doing? I mean, you know. What is the one thing you should be doing, could be doing? And if you would do, it would move the needle. Maybe a little bit at first, but it would move it, right? Maybe it's making 5 calls every morning. Maybe it's following up with prospects. Maybe it's walking 30 minutes. Maybe it's putting money into savings automatically. Maybe it's having the difficult conversations you need to have. Maybe it's getting up an hour earlier. Maybe it's turning off the TV or finally launching the website or asking for the appointment, right? Maybe it's submitting the proposal. Maybe it's just saying, yeah, I need help. Whatever it is, you probably already know what you should do. So now, this is fascinating, moving from intention to action. Modern behavioral research has studied a closely related problem called the intention behavior gap. In plain English, that's just people sincerely intend to do something and still don't do it. Sound familiar? One strategy researcher found that y- useful and remarkably simple. This next phrase here. Instead of saying, I'm going to exercise more, right? Because that's an intention, right? You decide, if it's 7 o'clock tomorrow morning, then I put on my shoes and walk for 30 minutes, right? Instead of saying, I need to prospect more, how about at 9 o'clock every weekday morning before I open my email, I make 5 prospecting calls instead of I'm going to work on my book. Try when I finish breakfast, I write for 20 minutes before doing anything else every day. Now we're moving, right? We're moving from vague intention to predetermined behavior. We're creating a new pattern. And at first, these are really habits, these patterns. And it really takes 21 to 40 days of repetition to really let that settle into becoming a new habit, right? And that repeated behavior that we do that, is doing this for us. It's building a new habit, the new pattern. So realize that knowing something is not the same as becoming it. This is where personal development gets really interesting. You can intellectually understand confidence, right? And still behave timidly. And a lot of these things I look at and I see it in me, right? That's why this is tremendously valuable. You can understand prosperity. I've been a prosperity teacher for years and still think from scarcity. It happens, right? You can study leadership and avoid difficult decisions. You can study or you can understand goal achievement and never pursue the goal. I've been through goal achievement classes, seminars with so many brilliant teachers, and yet I see so many never even pursue the goal. They don't even write it down. You have to realize that knowledge isn't the final destination. Embodiment is, becoming it is. The question isn't merely what do you know? The better question is what have you turned into behavior? Have you taken what you know and turned it into behavior? That's where results come from. Be, do, have, right? We have to be it. We have to become it in consciousness, and we have to do the things that are in alignment with that. Then we will have the life we would love to live. The life you would love to live is on the other side of action. Thought, word, action, right? Thought, words, and feelings. Maybe you've been thinking about changing your life for years. You know there's more in you. You can feel it. There's another level of income, another level of contribution, another business, another career, another relationship with yourself, another version of your health, another expression of your gifts, another life. You can see it in your imagination, but you keep standing at the edge, thinking, planning, learning, waiting. And perhaps, I'm telling you, perhaps being afraid is keeping you right there, keeping you stuck. Listen to me. You do not have to eliminate every fear before you move. So many people think that. Once all the fear is gone, I'll start moving these feet. You move with the fear. You take one step, then another, and another. Because action teaches something that thinking alone never can. Action creates evidence. You make the call, you survive, right? You give the presentation, you survive. You ask for the business, someone says no, you survive. Someone says yes. And suddenly your old paradigm has a problem because now there's new evidence, right? Maybe I can do this. You know what? And this is why reaching out to a guide, to a mentor, to an advisor, a consultant, this is why it matters. And this is also why I believe so deeply in helping and assisting, coaching, whatever you want to call it, and in all, in structured personal development, because sometimes we cannot see our own paradigms. They're below the surface. We have exercise. I'll spend weeks on this sometimes with people because we have to dig down to identify these. And then once we've identified them, I see so many people just go, oh, I didn't realize that. That's where that's coming from. But then we got to go about changing them. That's a whole nother, series of, hey, well, how do we do that? But we cannot see our own paradigms a lot of times. We're inside of it. It's normal to us. A good consultant or advisor or mentor isn't simply there to give you more information. You can find information anywhere. A good coach helps you identify the gap between what you say you want and what you're habitually doing. Then we begin closing that gap with clarity, accountability, repetition, decision, action, and new results. Now, I've spent years working with individuals, entrepreneurs, leaders, teams, and organizations, ministries around exactly these issues: performance, productivity, priority management, leadership, goal achievement, personal and professional transformation. And sometimes the breakthrough begins with a surprisingly simple admission. I know what to do. I'm just not doing it. Good. Now we're getting somewhere. Because once we stop pretending we have an information problem, we can start working on the real problem. So let me speak directly to you. If you're listening right now, whistling, if you're whistling right now, stop and listen right now. If you're listening right now and thinking, man, he's talking about me, he's talking right to me. How did he know? Well, maybe I am. Maybe you've been sitting on a dream. Maybe you've been saying someday for years. Maybe you've accumulated enormous knowledge, but your results haven't caught up with what you know. Maybe you're successful by everyone else's standards, but privately, you know you're operating far below your potential. Maybe you're simply tired of starting over and starting over again. Here, it's going to be the beginning of the year in a minute, right? It's like, oh my, here we go again. Well, you know what? Then don't make today's episode another piece of information you consume and forget. Do something. before today ends. One thing. Make one call, send one email, schedule one appointment. Do it with me, successappointment.com. Email Stephen, Stephen, at successocean.com. Right? One phone call. You want it? 248-939-1472. Write one page, take one walk, submit one application, make one decision, do something. Do something your future self will thank you for. Your future self is watching you right now through memories. Think about that. I slowed down because when I heard that, I go, wow, I want my future self to look back and say, I am glad you did that on that day. Right? Do something your future self will thank you for. And and if what you need, again, is someone to help you identify the paradigm, clarify the goal, be accountable, hold you accountable, create the plan, and walk with you while you close that knowing, doing that, again, reach out to me. Let's have a conversation. Not because you need somebody else to create your life for you, you don't. But sometimes we all need someone outside our own habitual thinking to help us see what we've stopped seeing. All right, so here's your challenge after this episode. You know, I'm all about application and action. I'm sorry, I'm passionate about this stuff. I go on and on. That's what happens when you don't have a script to stick to. But here's your challenge after this episode. Take out a piece of paper at the top right, what I know. Write down one thing you absolutely know you should be doing to move toward the life you want. Then underneath it, write what I do. What I do. Be honest. What are you actually doing? Then ask, what habit or fears is in the gap? What habit or fear is in the gap? Don't judge it. Identify it. Then write one final line. Okay, and answer this question. What will I do differently today? It's powerful. What will I do differently today? Not someday, not Monday, not January 1st, today. Then do it. That is how the gap begins closing. All right. So there you got it. Roll this back, listen to it, write those things down. I'm telling you, my friends, you already may know enough. The world is filled with knowledgeable people who never live the lives they dream about. Don't let that be you. Don't let that be your story. Your degrees are wonderful. Your titles are wonderful. Your books are wonderful. That promotion's wonderful. Your seminars are wonderful. Your knowledge is valuable. But knowledge that never becomes action cannot produce the result, the real result, the dream loaded result you're looking for. At some time, at some point in your life, some time in your life, we have to cross the bridge from knowing to doing, from intention to action, from fear to movement, from the familiar to possibility, and from the life we've been living into the life we would truly love to live. You don't have to cross the entire bridge today, all right? But you can take the next step. And perhaps that's exactly why you heard this message today. That's going to do it. I'm Dr. Stephen J. Kosmyna, Dr. Cause and Effect. This is the Genesis Frequency Podcast. Man, keep studying, keep growing, but most importantly, take what you know and put it into action. Because when your behavior begins aligning with your goal, that's praxis, and your results begin telling a different story. And again, if you're ready to close that knowing doing gap and would like some help doing it, reach out to me. Let's talk. Your dream isn't asking you to know more. It may simply be asking you to finally move. Successappointment.com. I'll talk with you again soon. Again, this is Dr. Cause and Effect, Dr. Stephen J. Kosmyna, wishing you an infinitely spectacular day. God bless you.